Revealed, incredible 10-year-old transforms billionaire's meeting with touching help for his dear community. In a sleepy town where everyone knew each other's names, a storm was brewing. 10-year-old Jake Thompson, a scrappy little hero with a heart the size of Texas, felt the tension in the air. Raised by his hard-working single mom, he had learned about sacrifice. She juggled 2 jobs, often late into the night, just to keep food on the table. As Jake prepared for the school fundraiser honoring the veterans, the event that meant everything to him, he could sense that something big was about to happen. Then it arrived. A billionaire stepped into their small town. The man was a myth, a shadow that hung around boardrooms and luxury suites, completely detached from their reality. As Jake watched the townsfolk buzzing with excitement and concern, he felt his usual bravado wane. Would this man's wealth bring change or rip their closely knit community apart? The thought tightened his chest. He couldn't sit back and let someone decide their fate without a voice. Jake found himself eavesdropping in a back room, the walls vibrating with corporate jargon and whispers of profit margins. The bright lights felt harsh, and the polished suits shone differently than the warm, sun-kissed faces of his neighbors. They discussed everything from investments to renovations, oozing with confidence that made him feel small. But as he listened, anger bubbled within him. They spoke about his town like it was just real estate, forgetting the spirit woven into its very fabric. Pushing through his fear, Jake burst into the meeting. Time slowed. Eyes turned, surprised and skeptical. He stood there, a boy with scuffed sneakers and untamed hair, staring up at the cold gaze of the billionaire. Taking a deep breath, Jake spoke. "Excuse me, sir. You don't know us, but we're here. The veterans my grandfather fought for this country, and we're raising money to honor them. This town is more than buildings." Its heart. The room fell silent. Skeptical glances exchanged among the executives. "A kid?" One scoffed, but Jake pushed on, his voice steady despite quaking knees. He shared stories of families rallying during tough times, of his mother bringing meals to those lacking, and the sense of connection that was woven through their everyday lives. "We need help, not just money. We want our roots to grow deeper, not ripped out for profit." The billionaire's expression softened, a hint of realization piercing through his privileged armor. Suddenly, his world of high-rises collided with the raw, unvarnished truth Jake embodied. Could he change his perspective? Reflect on what truly mattered? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension crackled. The billionaire shifted, seemingly weighing his options. The air was thick with uncertainty, changing the fabric of that sterile boardroom into something warmer, more human. Jake's bravery illuminated a path through the daunting darkness of wealth and indifference. But would the billionaire embrace that light or retreat into the shadows of his power? Standing there, 2 worlds teetering on the brink of connection, Jake's heart raced. The chance to redefine everything rested on the outcome of the next few moments. Would kindness triumph, or would ambition squeeze the life out of his beloved community? The stage was set for a decision that could change their lives forever. The room felt electric, the silence hanging like a fragile thread ready to snap. Jake's wide eyes scanned the faces around him. Disbelief, intrigue, and a twinge of admiration began to piece together the reactions of the adults. It was as if they were witnessing something they had never seen before, a child laying bare the very essence of humanity amidst a sea of suits. The billionaire's brow furrowed deeper. "What are you saying, that your town isn't for sale?" His voice rumbled, a mixture of surprise and contemplation. Those around him shifted uncomfortably, sharing glances laden with skepticism. But Jake didn't flinch. He stood firm, sensing that this moment could mark the change his town so desperately needed. "Yes, we're not just a location for profits. We matter. Our stories matter. The veterans' sacrifices matter." Jake's voice quivered but was laced with a fierce determination. "They fought for our freedoms, for the chance to live in harmony. They didn't sacrifice so that someone could come and bulldoze everything they cherished. They believed in community. So do we. The billionaire's mouth opened as if to reply, but no words came out. Instead, he peered at Jake, studying this little boy who was challenging his assumptions. Was this child really all that he portrayed? Brave enough to confront power? Slowly, the man softened. A flicker of conflict raced across his features. Sensing a shift, one of the executives scoffed, attempting to regain control. This is very sweet, kid, but you don't understand the real world. Business is business. We do what's necessary to grow. Towns change. But Jake wasn't done. This was the moment to dig deeper. No, you're wrong, he exclaimed, feeling fire in his belly. You think growth means taking away who we are? It's about building on what we have, not tearing it down. Just like the family homes in our town they've watched us grow up. They have history. How could you walk in and take that? It's not just about dollars and cents. It's about us. Murmurs rippled through the room, punctuated by exchanged glances filled with new understanding. Jake noticed a few nodding heads, a few pairs of eyes softening at his words. The atmosphere shifted again. What had begun as a sterile discussion hall was slowly morphing into a battleground for values. The billionaire inhaled deeply, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. You're passionate, he admitted, his tone tempered. But how do I help a place that I've only known from the outside? What do you want me to do? Jake seized the opportunity, his heart pounding with hope. Help us keep our roots. Invest in our Veterans Community Center, support the local businesses, and, please, listen to us. We just want to grow our town together, where no one feels left behind. That's how you make a real difference. The silence deepened again, laden with questions and possibilities. What if he actually listened? Could this moment lead to something larger than anyone could have imagined? Jake's pulse raced with anticipation. This was a chance to connect the worlds of ideas and dreams. With a sudden shift, the billionaire leaned forward. All right, let us talk specifics. If I'm willing to back that community center, what does that look like? Relief surged within Jake. Maybe, just maybe, they were beginning to bridge the gap between heart and ambition. The battle wasn't over, but this was the first step into a new dawn. And as Jake opened his mouth to lay out his vision, an unexpected sound interrupted a loud commotion from outside, drawing the attention of everyone in the room. What could it mean? Fear bubbled within him. Was the fragile bridge they were building about to be tested in ways they never saw coming? What lay waiting in the chaos outside could change everything. The door swung open, and a gust of cold wind swept into the room. The commotion outside grew louder, drowning out their conversations. Faces turned toward the door, curiosity piqued, tension reigniting like a match struck in a dark place. Jake could feel his heart pounding in his chest. Was this chaos a sign of trouble? A man burst into the room, his breath ragged and eyes wide with alarm. There's been an accident at the town square. Someone needs help. He stared at the group, desperation lining his features. The billionaire's expression shifted from intrigue to alarm, the weight of authority settling back onto his shoulders as something akin to responsibility stirred within him. Jake took a step forward, his instincts kicking in. What happened? Who needs help? The words flew from his mouth before he could stop them. Ignoring the disapproving glares from some of the executives, he focused on the man, needing to know more. There's a car crash, the man stammered, glancing over his shoulder as if he could still see what lay beyond the doors. A few kids were playing nearby when it all happened. We need people to help, to make sure they're all right. The room erupted into murmurs again, a wave of uncertainty passing over the adults as they whispered among themselves. Jake felt a fire ignite within him, a spark that screamed for action. He looked at the billionaire, desperate to draw him in. Look, Jake said, voice steady as he met the billionaire's gaze. If you want to really help, we need to get out there. Right now. Your money won't do any good if kids are hurt and no one's helping. We have to act. The billionaire hesitated, torn between the safety of the conference room and the chaos beyond. But Jake saw something stirring in his eyes. Maybe it was the challenge. Maybe it was the courage he'd seen in the boy's voice. Slowly, the billionaire stood, adjusting his cufflinks like a soldier preparing for battle. All right, he said, resolve building in his voice. Let us go? Show me where I can help. Jake felt a rush of relief surge through him. As the billionaire, the man who could change everything, joined him in stepping toward the door. Jake felt the eyes of the crowd on him. He turned back, nearly shouting, "Everyone, let us help." One by one, the adults rose from their seats, some fumbling with their ties, some checking their phones for directions. The air hummed with urgency as they rushed out into the cold, leaving the conference room behind. Outside, chaos reigned. The town square was a whirlwind of flashing lights and voices. Jake's heart sank as he caught sight of police cars, and an ambulance pulled up to the curb. The crowd of people swarmed around, rising above the cries of worry and panic. As they moved closer, Jake spotted a group of children sitting on the sidewalk, faces pale, bodies trembling. There was a boy cradling his sister, their eyes wide with fear, and Jake felt the knot in his stomach tighten. The world of suits and negotiations faded away. This was real. This was his community in distress. "Help them," he shouted, rushing forward. But as he stepped into the fray, a sudden fear washed over him. What if this moment didn't lead to the healing he had hoped for? What if it was a test they weren't ready to face? With the billionaire at his side, Jake took a deep breath, forcing himself to move ahead. There was no backing down now. The lives of those kids depended on every action they took. Would they rise to the challenge together? And as he reached for the little girl, a terrible realization dawned on him. This was just the beginning of a much bigger journey. The stakes were higher than he'd ever imagined. How would they navigate this crisis? And what would it reveal about the bond between their worlds? Jake crouched down beside the little girl, his heart racing like a drum in his chest. Her white-knuckled grip on her brother's arm told him all he needed to know. The fear in her wide, tear-filled eyes cut through him. "You're safe now," he said gently, letting the warmth of his voice wash over them. He reached out, brushing her hair back from her forehead, trying to calm both her and himself. Behind him, the billionaire was organizing adults, directing some to check on the kids and others to help the paramedics with their work. Jake felt a flicker of hope ignite. Maybe they were making a difference together. "Please, help my sister," the boy cried, his voice trembling as he clutched the little girl tighter. "She's bleeding." The panic in his voice made Jake's heart drop. He flashed a quick glance at the gathered crowd. Some people looked on helplessly, unable to process the scene before them, while others were springing into action, bringing whatever they could to provide aid. "Stay with me," Jake told the boy as he turned his attention to the little girl, who had fallen silent, her small frame trembling. He could see a scrape blooming on her arm, blood mingling with dirt. It wasn't life-threatening, but still enough to make anyone panic, especially children. "Can you tell me your name?" he asked softly, forcing a smile to mask his own worry. The girl swallowed hard but managed to whisper, "Emma." He nodded, keeping his gaze steady on her. "Okay, Emma. I'm Jake. Help is coming, I promise." Moments felt like hours, yet chaos continued to swirl around them, punctuated by the distant wails of sirens and the shouts of adults coordinating rescue efforts. Jake spotted the billionaire move closer, a determined look on his face, and felt a rush of gratitude. This man was choosing to step into their reality. "Emma, let us take a deep breath together," Jake said, demonstrating. He could barely focus, heart pounding in his ears, but he needed to show her that adults could be steady in the storm. She followed, inhaling deeply, and to his surprise, he saw a flicker of calm in her eyes. "Good. Just like that," he encouraged. "You're so brave." Just then, a paramedic rushed over, kneeling beside them. "What do we have?" he asked, quickly scanning their faces. "She fell. She's bleeding," the boy shouted, fear still evident in his voice. The paramedic nodded, taking command of the situation, his presence both reassuring and professional. As the paramedic assessed Emma's injuries, Jake looked around, taking in the scene. Some children were being comforted by strangers, others were being led away to safety. He realized that not everyone would escape this incident unscathed, and a lump formed in his throat. The sight of the medics working made Jake acutely aware that they were all part of something larger, this community they shared, this bond that felt both fragile and strong in the moment. He wanted to do more, to help build a bridge between those with resources and those without, to lay a foundation of trust. Just as the paramedic began to bandage Emma's arm, Jake felt a hand on his shoulder. It was the billionaire, his expression serious, piercing through the chaos. "Jake, we're going to need to talk about how we can prevent this," he said. "This isn't just about today." Jake swallowed hard, the weight of those words settling in. Yes, we will, he replied. But a sudden sense of dread washed over him. What if they really couldn't fix this? What if they weren't equipped for the reality outside their walls? But as he looked back at Emma, her scared face slowly transforming into a tiny smile thanks to the comforting assurance of the medics, he felt a glimmer of determination spark inside him. Maybe, just maybe, this was an opportunity for change. What kind of change could they bring about if they worked together? What if this accident turned into a new beginning? Would they dare to dream big enough to make a difference, even in the face of such disaster? Jake watched as the paramedic gently bandaged Emma's arm, his heart swelling with a mixture of relief and hope. The girl's small smile was everything he needed to see, a flicker of normalcy in a chaotic world. But as Emma's brother squeezed her hand tighter, the reality of their situation began to sink in once more. "Can you walk, Emma?" the paramedic asked, glancing up at the girl. Her brother shook his head, tears welling up in his big eyes. "No," she asked, scared. "Hey," Jake interjected, his voice firm yet kind. "If she can't walk, it's okay. We'll help her. Right, Emma?" He made eye contact with her, drawing strength from the moment. The girl nodded, eyes wide but visibly reassured by his presence. Just then, the billionaire stepped closer to them, surveying the scene with a heavy brow. "We need a stretcher over here," he called out. His command sliced through the noise of panic, and Jake admired how naturally he took charge, his demeanor both authoritative and caring. As the medics quickly positioned a stretcher, Jake gently lifted Emma, cradling her as best he could. She was light, but the weight of her fear felt heavy against him. He caught the shy glance of her brother, who was now standing tall, holding on to the hope that Jake had instilled in both of them. "You're going to be okay, Emma. Just a little trip to the hospital, and you'll be all better," he whispered, careful not to alarm her further. "Promise?" she managed to mumble, voice trembling. It was a small word, but carried so much weight. "Absolutely," Jake replied firmly. As they loaded Emma onto the stretcher, he felt the stirrings of something profound. It was more than just a promise. It was a commitment to do better, to push for change amidst the chaos. The billionaire stood nearby, staring intently at the pair. "You know, Jake, moments like these make me realize how fragile life can be," he said, almost to himself. "But they also remind me how much we can accomplish if we rally together." Jake nodded, holding Emma's gaze as she was wheeled away. He could feel the shift in the air, a collective understanding forming among the adults watching. There was urgency now, not only to tend to the wounded, but to address the larger community issues that led to this incident in the first place. "This is about so much more than just today," the billionaire continued, his voice low and intense. "We have to do something tangible, something that lasts." Jake caught matching fire in the billionaire's eyes. It ignited his own spirit, and he found a new flame within him. "Agreed. Let us create a foundation. Something that reaches out to people who need help before they reach this point." Emma's brother, still clutching a toy, piped up, "Like a superhero team?" Both men paused, surprised by the boy's innocent, yet daring idea. "Exactly," Jake replied, grinning. "A team that helps before things get bad." The billionaire laughed, a rich sound that seemed to draw in the other adults in the area. "A superhero team. I love it. It's time to invest in more than just buildings or businesses. We need to invest in people's lives." Jake could see the wheels turning in the billionaire's head. "Let us meet again in a few days to start planning. We can't ignore this." As the medics transported Emma away, Jake felt a rush of something indescribable hope. But he knew that it wouldn't come easily. Change wouldn't come without a fight. He turned to the crowd of onlookers, their expressions a mix of relief and lingering tension. What could they do next? How many shared his vision of a better future, of community strength amplified by trust and action? As he began to gather thoughts for the days ahead, it hit him. He was determined to reach out, to involve everyone. But how would they convince the rest of their community to care enough to act? Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the challenge ahead. "We have a chance to change lives," he whispered to himself. "But first, we must find our heroes within." Just then, a loud noise erupted nearby, drawing Jake's attention back to the chaos. What was happening now? He felt a strong pulse of urgency surge through him once again. The road ahead could be treacherous, but he was ready to face whatever came next. Would the community unite to make this vision a reality, or would fear push them back into the shadows? Jake turned sharply, his heart pounding as he scanned the crowd, searching for the source of that chaos. There it was again, a clatter of metal and a chorus of gasps. Instinct took over. He felt compelled to act. What is going on? He called out to a woman nearby, her face stricken with worry. They're trying to clear the wreckage. But it's dangerous, she replied, voice trembling. Jake pushed through the throngs. A sense of unease twisted in his stomach. The rescuers were struggling to maneuver large steel beams that had fallen, one of which teetered dangerously close to a cluster of onlookers. He could see the fear in their eyes, just like Emma's. Without thinking, he approached the group's leader, a firefighter with soot-streaked cheeks. Can I help? The man looked up, surprise flashing across his face. Are you trained? No, but I can lift, Jake insisted, adrenaline coursing through him. I'll do whatever it takes. The firefighter hesitated, assessing Jake. Then, he nodded, pointing to a smaller beam. All right, grab that end and lift when I say. We have to move quickly. Jake didn't even hesitate. He gripped the cold metal, muscles straining as he locked eyes with the firefighter, and counted down. Together, they lifted, heart rate racing with every grunt of effort. The crowd held its breath. He could feel their collective hopes resting on them, as if this small act could right the world. With a series of coordinated movements, they shifted the beam aside, revealing a small dog cowering underneath. Cheers erupted from the crowd, breaking the tension, but Jake's heart sank. The dog looked terrified but unharmed. Relief washed over him, and he flashed a smile at the firefighter. We did it. The joy in people's faces reminded Jake why they had to take action as a community. See, even when everything feels broken, we can come together and lift each other up, he mumbled, more to himself than anyone else. As Jake stepped back, panting and flushed, he spotted Emma's brother watching with wide eyes. Jake motioned for him to join, kneeling down to meet him at eye level. You saw that, didn't you? We worked together just like your superhero team idea. The boy's face brightened. Maybe we can help more people. Like Emma. Exactly. Jake soared, fueled by the boy's enthusiasm. Let us gather everyone again, talk about how we can reach out. Tomorrow, we'll start rallying folks around our cause. It's a new beginning. The boy nodded vigorously, clutching his toy tightly. Jake turned back to the crowd. Listen up, everyone. He raised his voice, drawing attention from all around. Today isn't just about what happened here. It's about how we can come together to ensure it doesn't happen again. We can be each other's superheroes. His words hung in the air, igniting whispers among the crowd. Hope brewed in their eyes, a ripple of possibility forming. But just then, a woman stepped forward. What if we can't? What if no one listens? Jake felt an ache in his chest. Doubt, the enemy of hope. We start small, he countered, voice steadier, with just one act of kindness at a time. Every action counts. If we give up now, we'll always be afraid. Around him, murmurs of agreement followed, and he could see the determination building. As the community began to congregate closer, mixing ideas and plans, Jake knew they were on the verge of something transformative. Yet, he couldn't shake off the knot in his stomach. Would they rise to the challenge? Just then, the billionaire approached, catching Jake's eye with an intense gaze. I don't just want to support your idea, I want to lead this, but I need to know you're with me. Jake nodded, heart racing with the weight of that commitment. I'm all in, he replied, feeling the weight both terrifying and exhilarating. But would everyone else join in? As excitement bubbled within him, a mixture of fear and adventure, he couldn't ignore the echoing question. What would it take to inspire an entire community to change their own narrative? Jake stood amidst the buzz of the crowd, feeling electricity in the air. The energy pulsed around him, a vibrant mix of hope and trepidation. With the billionaire's commitment swirling in his mind, he turned back to the group. They needed a spark, a plan, but more importantly, they needed strength from each other. All right, everyone, he called out again, raising his arms to quiet the chatter. Let us break out into smaller groups. We can brainstorm ideas on how we can help others, ways to bring the community together. The crowd responded with nods and murmurs of agreement. Hearts beat as one, fueled by collective motivation. Jake felt a shift, a fire igniting in people's hearts, pushing aside their fears. Families began to gather in clusters, animated discussions bubbling up like water on the boil. Jake spotted Emma's brother again, his wide eyes darting to each face nearby. The boy had turned back to him. "Can we help the dog more?" he asked, his voice full of genuine concern. "Absolutely," Jake said, inching closer. "Let us set up a team for anyone who needs help, even if that means taking care of animals, getting food for families, or just listening to people. Everyone deserves a superhero on their side." The boy beamed, his enthusiasm infectious. Jake found his own grin spreading, filled with warmth and belonging. "You know what? You might just be the best sidekick this town has ever seen." But even as he shared a laugh with the boy, the woman's doubts echoed in his mind. What if they couldn't do it? What if their efforts fell flat? Just as he gathered the courage to speak again, a voice disrupted the moment. It was the firefighter, her brow furrowed as she approached. "Jake," she said, her voice low yet urgent. "I've been thinking, a lot of people are hurting right now. Do you really believe we can inspire them to rise with us?" Jake straightened up. Her honesty touched him. "Yes, I do. It won't be easy, but together we can show them they're not alone." The firefighter nodded, chewing on her lip as if still weighing her options. "Well, what about the next big step? This isn't just about lifting beams, we need to lift spirits too. Maybe we should organize a community day? Get everyone involved in a way that makes them feel part of something bigger?" The idea hung in the air like fresh paint drying in the sun. Jake felt a wave of excitement wash over him. Yes, that could unite us all. A day of service. We could work together, hands-on, where everyone can contribute. The firefighter's demeanor shifted. "I'll help you. I stand by your side," she said. It felt like she was forming an anchor in his pool of uncertainty. Voices rose in enthusiasm as groups formed around the possibilities, and he could feel their energy coalesce. Yet questions loomed. He caught the eye of the billionaire again, who had just stepped forward with a determined expression. "I'm in too, but we must get the word out. Funding, support, we need to make this legit." At that moment, the reality hit Jake. This wasn't just about a community day. This was about reaching every corner of their town and beyond. Everything rested on their shoulders. "Let us all rally together, make it happen," he declared, feeling hope radiating like golden rays of sunlight piercing through dark clouds. But as excitement spiraled, a wave of dread washed over him. Did they all have the strength to chase this dream? Could they really inspire change in their hearts and minds? With that weight heavy on his chest, looking into the faces of his community, he realized this moment was only the beginning and the challenges ahead could be far greater than they had ever imagined. What if they fell short? What would that mean for those who dared to hope? The spark was there. Would it ignite a wildfire of change or fizzle before it blossomed? Jake inhaled, searching not just for answers, but for that unwavering conviction within him. As Jake stood in the buzzing crowd, he wrestled with the weight of expectation. He could feel the stares, the hopes resting on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. Just then, a burst of laughter pierced through his thoughts, pulling his focus back to the groups forming around him. The energy shifted, becoming tangible and electric once more. "Let us gather here," he heard someone shout. It was Emma, her voice bright and commanding. The little boy from earlier was at her side, his hands thrust in the pockets of his little jeans, his excitement bubbling over. "What is the plan now?" she asked, glancing up at Jake. He stepped forward, the adrenaline surging through him. "We start with ideas for our community day. Think of something that will bring everyone together, work they can do, things they can share. Let us spark creativity." The groups began to buzz with animated ideas. Laughter intertwined with laughter as people shared their visions. Children excitedly chimed in with suggestions for games, while adults proposed food drives and safety workshops. The ideas flowed like ink from an overflowing pen, coloring the atmosphere with enthusiasm. As Jake guided the discussions, he tried to keep his doubts at bay. Every moment was a dance on the edge of hope and anxiety. Around him, spirits were rising, the hearts of families intertwining like threads in a tapestry. Then a voice piped up. It was the firefighter again. "What if we invited local businesses to set up booths? They could share resources and even sponsor activities." "Great idea," someone else chimed. Jake felt the energy lift higher still. He couldn't help but share in the collective optimism. But beneath the excitement lay an undercurrent of concern. How would they fund all these ideas? The billionaire's commitment had made a nice spark, but was it enough to fuel the flames that were igniting? Before he could spiral deeper into his thoughts, Emma's brother raised his hand. Can we have a pet adoption booth too? His wide eyes turned hopeful. A way for people and animals to find each other. Yes, Jake exclaimed, his excitement pouring out. That is a perfect idea. We can help shelter animals find homes, and it will remind us of compassion during tough times. As discussions flowed on, Jake caught the billionaire's eye once more. The man nodded softly, a quiet acknowledgement that Jake desperately needed. They would need more support than ever, and he sensed the billionaire's presence would lend them strength. Okay, everyone. Jake raised his voice again, beckoning for attention. We'll need volunteers for each idea. Can I get names for each group before the end of the meeting? Hands shot up, fingers scribbling on notepads, and slowly Jake felt the doubts start to retreat. He focused on the faces filled with determination. People were willing to put in the effort to make this vision a reality. But as the day's discussions wound down, just as hope began to solidify into plans, uncertainty squeezed at the edge of Jake's mind. Would they be able to connect as many people as they hoped? Would Community Day really galvanize the change they needed, or were their dreams merely that dreams? His heart raced as he took a breath. The last thing he wanted was for this to end in disappointment. But the surrounding enthusiasm painted a brighter picture, one that urged him to believe. Let us meet again tomorrow, Jake finally announced, a rallying cry as he finished. We'll keep building momentum. Together, we can do this. As the crowd erupted in applause, Jake felt that familiar inner tension battling with the swell of optimism. He couldn't shake the fear that clung to him. What if they scraped together something beautiful only to watch it tumble into dust? Will they rally together, stand firm, or will their hope falter amidst unanswered questions? The answer loomed on the horizon, waiting to be discovered. The next day arrived with a breath of fresh air, the sunlight spilling into Jake's room like a warm promise. He could still hear the echoes of laughter and ideas from the night before, but beneath it all, a knot of anxiety twisted in his stomach. Today was the day they would start turning dreams into reality. As he made his way to the community center, Jake's heart raced with anticipation. Would people show up? Would their energy still be high after a night to think? He pushed the thoughts aside, focusing instead on the faces he hoped to see. When he arrived, the room was already buzzing. Groups huddled around tables, scribbling notes, sharing snacks, and laughter. Emma waved excitedly as she caught sight of him, her little brother bouncing beside her. Their energy filled Jake with hope. Look, we've got loads of volunteers. Emma called out, her voice ringing with excitement. We even got the fire department on board. Jake's eyes widened as he saw uniformed firefighters mingling with community members. It was all coming together. The local diner had dedicated a section of their menu to the event, promising free hot dogs and lemonade for the first 100 attendees. They were offering to set up a grill right outside, inviting even more foot traffic into the venue. Okay, everyone. Jake clapped his hands to gather attention, his voice steady but tinged with eagerness. Let us hear from each group. What's on the agenda? One by one, different groups rose to share their plans. The flower arrangement workshop, a storytelling corner for kids, an art project using recycled materials. Each idea sparked more enthusiasm, the room pulsing with energy. Jake felt a smile grow on his face. It felt like a shared heartbeat, a rhythm of connection that he had hoped for, but never truly believed could manifest. Then it was Emma's brother's turn. We want the pet adoption booth to have a meet and greet area, he explained, determination in his small voice. We hope to get the kids involved so they can help with the animals and learn about taking care of pets. Jake swallowed hard. The sincerity in the boy's voice reached deep, stirring something in Jake. Was it guilt for his earlier fears, or was it just a reminder of how simple acts can transform lives? As meetings wrapped up, Jake noticed the billionaire quietly observing the event from the back of the room. Today, he had the air of a guardian angel. Earlier, both grateful and nervous, Jake had caught sight of him in the distance, but now, he carried a quiet assurance he, too, had come to support their vision. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was brewing, and it terrified and thrilled him. But as the energy surged, Jake's mind couldn't shake the nagging thought of finances. Would the contributions promised by the billionaire be enough? They still needed a considerable sum to cover logistics, supplies, and the salaries for those who volunteered their services. Before he could spiral again, an unexpected voice broke his contemplation. "How can we help?" A local business owner had stepped forward, his eyes filled with determination. "I can donate supplies. My store is just down the road." Jake couldn't believe his ears. The trickle of support turned into a flood as more community members stepped forward to offer help, each small gesture weaving a tighter bond. Yet with each offer came the realization of how far they would still need to go. Filled with equal parts hope and dread, Jake addressed the crowd once more. "This is exactly what we need. But we've still got more work ahead of us. Let us make this community day unforgettable, for ourselves and everyone around us." As applause rang out, he caught Emma's eye. There was a flicker of something unspoken between them, determination, yes, but also the inkling of doubt that they had to persevere through. Just then, the screen flickered to life behind him, showing a countdown timer to Community Day, only a week away. The reality hit him like a ton of bricks. "Okay, team," he said, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. "We've got 1 week. Are we ready to bring our best?" The resounding cheer was deafening, yet uncertainty still weighed on Jake's heart. He knew this was only the beginning. But as he looked around the room, filled with hope, he couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest part was still ahead of them. Would they rise to the occasion, or would obstacles threaten to tear their dreams apart? The clock was ticking, and the countdown had only just begun. As the countdown ticked down to Community Day, the excitement buzzed in the air like fireworks waiting to explode. Jake felt a mix of exhilaration and dread, knowing they were on the brink of something monumental yet treacherous. Would this ambitious vision bridge their worlds together or collapse under the weight of expectation? In this last week, the community rallied like never before. Each day, the town square transformed into a vibrant hub of creativity and hope, bright banners flapping in the breeze, children painting cheerful murals, and adults organizing logistics. The air filled with laughter, gossip, and the scent of fresh flowers being arranged, all woven together by a shared enthusiasm. But beneath it all, Jake felt the tight grip of anxiety. It nagged at him like an uninvited guest, whispering doubts that threatened to overshadow their triumphs. What if not enough people came? What if the encounters between community members and local businesses didn't rise to the occasion? The thoughts weighed heavy on his heart. 2 days before the event, while he was busy putting together the pet adoption booth materials at the community center, Emma and her brother burst through the door, arms overflowing with colorful flyers. "Look, Jake," Emma exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "We've been handing these out all over town. Everyone's so excited. They can't wait to come." Jake's heart soared at the sight of their enthusiasm. "You two are the best," he beamed, holding the flyers up, feeling the rush of optimism wash over him. It was a reminder that hope was contagious when nurtured by love and connection, a realization that solidified the mission in his heart. "Can we count on everyone to show up?" he asked, still tinged with uncertainty. Emma's brother nodded earnestly. "Yeah, they will. You just have to believe it." "Okay," Jake laughed, feeling the warmth of their shared energy. "Let us get back to work." As Community Day dawned, sunshine streamed through the trees like a gentle blessing. Jake stood at the edge of the bustling town square, eyes wide, absorbing the sheer scene before him. Vibrant booths were lining the streets. Everywhere he turned, he saw smiling faces, families laughing, children darting with excitement, and a sense of unity filled their small town. The day unfolded like a dream come to life. Emma and her brother tended to eager families at the pet adoption booth, showcasing puppies wrapped in bright bandanas. The smell of sizzling hot dogs mingled with the gentle sound of music drifting through the air. Everywhere, groups huddled, creating crafts, playing games, and exchanging stories. Jake watched as the billionaire moved amongst the crowd, engaging with families, asking questions, and genuinely listening. It filled him with warmth to see the shift in the man's demeanor, the transformation from a detached observer to an active participant. As the day progressed, it was time for Jake to give his speech. Standing on a makeshift stage, he took a deep breath, heart racing. He looked out at the sea of faces staring back at him, filled with anticipation. "Hey, everyone," he called, his voice carrying through the cheerful noise. "Today is not just a day for fun. It's about all of us coming together, showing that no matter how big or small, each one of us has a part to play in this community. We're stronger together, lifting each other, caring for each other. A wave of applause washed over him, and Jake couldn't help but smile. He continued, invigorated by the audience's energy. No matter what challenges we face, we can't forget our roots. They're what tie us all together: love, respect, and understanding. The crowd cheered louder, each clap resonating with Jake's heart. In that moment, he felt an overwhelming sense of connection. The fears that once brewed in his mind began to fade away. Their community was a tapestry of individual threads, each unique but essential in strengthening the whole. "I'm so thankful to everyone here today," he said, voice slightly trembling with emotion. "Today is just the beginning. Let us turn this spirit into a movement where we support each other every day. We can build a future we're proud of." As Jake finished speaking, he caught sight of Emma among the crowd. She flashed him a bright smile, her eyes sparkling with pride, and he felt an enormous wave of gratitude wash over him. They had done this together. With laughter and cheer echoing through the square, the day progressed smoothly. Families began to gather around booths, sharing connections, building trust, and lending support to one another. And yet, as they plunged into the festivities, Jake still couldn't shake the thought that tugged at his heart. What came next? Would this sense of unity endure when the party ended and life returned to its usual pace? But just as he pondered, the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the square, a fitting celebration for their efforts. The community, once frazzled and divided, appeared to have grown in unison, ready to take on whatever came next. As they closed down for the day, Jake felt something deeper shift inside him, a true understanding of the power of connection, of being vulnerable, and sharing dreams. He didn't have all the answers yet, but he was certain that being a part of this nurturing community had transformed him. At sunset, surrounded by people who had believed in the impossible, Jake nodded, knowing that they had only scratched the surface. Together, they could forge the way to a future where dreams became realities and every voice mattered. And as he looked towards the horizon, he understood. This journey might be just beginning, but they would face it together, stronger, braver, and ready to tell their story, brick by brick, heart by heart. Don't wait another moment to join this journey. You need to subscribe now to this channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that inspire change. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and put your support behind these powerful transformations. Comment below to share how this ending made you feel. Let us know your thoughts and reactions. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Remember, only true fans understand how important it is to support the channel through these actions. Let us rise together.